everybody. Tracy Adams here. I'm so excited to share with y'all my story. It has been a wild ride, and it has just propelled me forward and fueled my passion even more. I'm worried that my phone's going to die during this, so I'm going to... Hi, Cindy. I was wondering if you were going to be on. Thanks for logging on. Okay, so I'm going to get started because I have a coaching call at 1 o'clock with someone, and so, and God forbid if I go on for 45 minutes, I will not be upset if any of y'all log off. I'm going to share my story about our son and how we healed him from autoimmune disease. Just a little tiny bit of background. Had a totally healthy, normal pregnancy, vaginal birth. He was over 9 pounds. Yeah, bless my heart. A little bit jaundice because they pulled him out with a vacuum, and he had like a big hematoma on the back of his head. And he had some mild like oral motor weakness. Gosh, you know what? Doing this in mirror mode totally messes with me. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm gonna not touch my hair again. A little bit of oral motor weakness that affected his ability to nurse, but we finally figured it out, and I was able to. He had breast milk until like 13 months. I was a dairy cow with him and had a bunch in the freezer. Anyways, that's probably more information than you needed. At 20 months old, he got RSV, so respiratory syncytial virus. If you don't know what that is, it's a horrible virus. It can be deadly to premature babies. They actually do vaccines for it. I'm not even going to go down that road. But afterwards, he had asthma. So he didn't always have asthma, but you can have some scarring from RSV. And so we think that that's what happened with him. Fast forward to November 29th of 2018, and I get a text message from him. He's on his way home. He's on the bus. And he sends me a text, and it says, "Hey, Mom, I think I need to go to the doctor." And I was like, "Okay, tell me more." And he sends me a picture, and it's him up close like this. And he goes, "This is why." And I was like, "You look kind of green in that picture. I don't understand." And he's like, "I'm yellow. My friends have told me I'm turning yellow." He's like, "And I went to the bathroom and I looked, and yes, I am yellow." So I was like, oh my goodness. So one thing that I am super blessed by is that my son and my husband, not my very stubborn daughter, but my son and my husband have a saying, and that is, "Mama knows." And my son, he trusts me, and he has faith in my knowledge and everything. And so I knew he was going to want me to have answers when he got home. And so I got online, and it's funny how like hindsight is always 20/20. He had had some weird random things and symptoms leading up to this, but we just, we didn't connect the dots. And, but most sources were implicating gallbladder. And that's, when we started connecting the dots. So he had a really painful episode, like maybe 2 weeks prior to that. Really bad itching. I remember we had, flown him to Pennsylvania early for Thanksgiving to spend number one, to spend more time with his uncle, and number two, so we didn't have to have him in the car with us while we were traveling, because he is like a caged animal in a prison on wheels when we are in the car for more than like 3 hours. Hang on, I need to grab a Kleenex. Okay. And so he calls me one night and he's like, "I am itching like really bad." And I was like, "It's probably the cold weather. Like, just put some lotion on." And, later on I find out like he would go outside, take his shoes and socks off, and scratch his feet on the cement, like he just could not scratch hard enough. Really dark yellow urine, and then very, very pale beige stool. I mean, I wouldn't know. Like, I just wouldn't know that. So here's where I realized I was not the same medically informed person that used to stand in sample closets reading package inserts, wanting to learn the pharmacokinetics and the pharmacodynamics of medicines and their mechanism of action, and what receptors do they hit, and blah blah blah. So our pediatric doctor sent us for ultrasound and labs, and then they sent us to the ER because the ultrasound confirmed, yes, there's a blockage, which, hello, he was turning yellow, but I guess you kind of have to go through the steps. And I called my neighbor to give her an update because she's a nurse, and when Brooks had come home from school that day, I had said to her, "Can you come look at him? Like, I need another set of eyeballs." And she's a former nurse. And so she was like, you probably want to keep him NPO still, which nothing by mouth. And I was like, why? And she says to me, so I took notes, because they might want to remove his gallbladder. And I was like, whoa. And I'm not saying that at her, okay? That's not it. I'm responding to, whoa, this is the medical culture, right? And so, I have enough background, medical background, really to be dangerous. That's the truth of the matter. I don't know much about the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas. I know the basics. Here's an example of me knowing enough to be dangerous. I know that, if somebody has their pancreas removed, they're going to have the Whipple procedure. Probably know that from Grey's Anatomy, to be honest. I didn't know what a biliary tree was until we went through this. So I was very uncomfortable, and I was totally on red alert. I found myself going into a situation where, and I could not have articulated this then, but now I'm able to articulate it. I was dependent on a system to help my son, but I no longer trusted the system. Oh my gosh, I think I might get emotional. I didn't trust, the fact that she's like, you might not want to let him eat or drink anything because they're going to want to take his gallbladder out maybe. And I was like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? So we're admitted to the ER, and the emergency room doc, this is at a pediatric ER, so all peds, which was awesome. And the ER doc gets us a GI consult and a surgical consult. And I was like, okay, wait. Why do we need a surgical consult? We don't even know what is going on. And he was a great guy, and he talked to me, and I was actually, I don't know how, but I was very rational and reasonable. That day in the ER, Brooksy and I, we bonded, we had a great time. So I was able to communicate to the ER doc that we're not taking any body parts out, no organs are being removed. And of course I didn't say it like this. Until we had more information, a diagnosis, a reason, some solid information. Because up till this point, no increased white blood cell count. It was just basically anything in this area, all those numbers were jacked up. All right. But up to this point, I had at least five people tell me, oh, they're probably just going to take his gallbladder out. And I was like, what the hell, people? Seriously, whatever happened to, why is this happening? Why is it happening? Instead, if you really think about it, oh, they might just take his gallbladder out is kind of like, you know what? I have this hangnail on my finger right here, and I can't get it. I should just cut the tip of my finger off. Let me just cut my finger off because I can't fix it. No. And, within a couple days of him being admitted, because he was in the hospital for a week, I talked to one of my fellow wellness obsessed friends, and she, the first thing she said when we got on the phone and she heard me tell her a little bit of our story was, don't let him take his gallbladder out. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody that speaks my language. Are you kidding me? I was so happy to hear someone say that, because everybody else was like, oh, they'll probably just take his gallbladder out. I'm like, God gave us a gallbladder for a reason. Why is it happening? And what, so that, I'm just speaking to where the culture has gone, the mindset and what have you. All right, so we were admitted to the hospital under the care of the pediatric GI. She was an awesome doctor, but this happened. She comes in, she wants to know our entire list of medications and supplementation, and she says to me, well, it could be the supplements. And I was like, what? But at that point in time, I can see now, as I was writing these notes out, I have evolved so much, because at that time, that made me insecure. It made me question, the supplements that I had them on, all natural, Mother Nature. Are you kidding me? But I'll go more into that in a little bit, because that kind of comes full circle in the story. So they did his first ERCP. For those of you that don't know what that stands for, it's endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatitis. pancreas something. So, you know, like a scope, they take a scope down, and then retrograde means like going in through the outdoor, like exit only. And there's this teeny tiny little hole in the duodenum, and they go up through that, and then they can visualize the liver, the pancreas, gallbladder, everything that is connected to the common bile duct. So they went in and they did an ERCP, and they found that his common bile duct was narrowed. So up until this point, we knew that there was an obstruction, but we didn't know if it was a mass, like whether it was a very, very small tumor that didn't show up on the MRI, because we did have one of those, or if it was like a stone, like a gallstone, or what have you. So we were able to at least find out, like, it was a narrowing. The GI put a stent in, but he comes out and he starts talking to us, and he's like, blah, 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 blah. Like, he picked up on the fact that I had a little bit of medical knowledge, and I think he just all filters for, you know, people that don't know what the hell he's talking about went out the window. And he's like, okay, well, you know, it could be an autoimmune cholangiopathy or an eosinophilic cholangiopathy, and we'll have to check his IgG4 numbers, and we're going to send, you know, some, you know, next ERCP, since we couldn't get in there all the way, like, we'll do some biopsies and send stuff off for staining at the path lab and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I've had a couple patients like this in the past. We just put them on high dose steroids, and it cured it. Bye, see you in a couple days when we do the second ERCP. And that was it. And I was like, whoa, wow. So 3 days later, we had his second ERCP, and they were able to get in, and the anatomy was totally normal. The bottleneck effect that had happened in the little ducts that allow, like, the gallbladder to secrete all of its, I'm blanking on the word, enzymes and, you know, all of those juices. Bilirubin wasn't getting backed up anymore or anything like that. And they found that, you know, everything was normal, and his blood work was showing that everything was normalizing in that department as well. So we were discharged with the instructions to follow up with the pediatric GI and outpatient, have the stent removed, and take a PPI. PPI is like Nexium, Prilosec, Prevacid. It is a drug that suppresses, it's a proton pump inhibitor, and it shuts all three avenues where you produce stomach acid. It shuts all three of those down. And I was like, why a PPI? He doesn't have gastroesophageal reflux. He doesn't have stomach acid issues. The pain he is having is from the pancreas. You pissed it off. You went in there and you took a biopsy of it, and then you put a stent in and spread everything out. Like, that's why he's in pain. So I didn't fill the prescription for the PPI, because I was like, why am I going to give him medication that he doesn't need? Like, I'm not doing it. The old Tracy totally would have done it, though. Number two, he's still having painful episodes, and we didn't know why he was having them, like what was triggering them, where they were coming from, nor were we equipped to handle it. And this is like a little God wink part of the story. This was during the polar vortex. If any of y'all remember that last year. And, you know, we live in Florida, and so it's 50 degrees out, and sister, I'm going to put my Uggs on. And it was like 30 degrees out. So I had my Uggs on and socks and jeans and, you know, several layers. And I'm sitting in my office one day, and I get this like really bad indigestion. I mean, it was so bad that I remember thinking, do I take an aspirin because I'm having a heart attack, or what do I do? But I hadn't eaten anything. And so I knew it wasn't reflux. Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, so I knew it wasn't reflux. And so I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And then my friend Beth pops into my head, and she's my essential oils gal. And I was like, oh, I have essential oils. I mean, y'all, I was, by the time I finally thought to use essential oils, I had taken my Uggs off and my socks and every layer but a tank top. I was sweating so bad from the pain. So I grabbed a cup of water, put about 2 ounces in there, put a couple drops of the essential oils I had for GI. I used my little app and was like, okay, what do I take? Drop, 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 drank it. By the time my lips were no longer on fire, my indigestion was completely gone, and I felt perfectly normal. That was by the grace of God, because the next morning, Brooks had his first really bad episode post-hospitalization, post-stent replacement. And he's crying, and my boys, and when I say my boys, I'm talking about my son and my husband. And they're looking at me because I'm the one in the house, you know, I'm the one that they look to when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know, if you want to know something about a plant, we're going to look at Tom. But in this situation, it's on me. And I was like, all right, well, listen, this is what I did yesterday. And I had just remembered that I had a couple vegan capsules. And I was like, if I make you a capsule, do you want to try it? And he was in so much pain. He's like, Mom, I'll do anything. So I gave it to him. And like, he texts me from the bus stop 15 minutes later. And he's like, I feel totally normal, no pain, it worked, that's awesome. So our essential oils became our crutch quite a bit, because we had a lot of episodes like that. Like, I sent him to camp this summer with several capsules filled, and I rolled them up in saran wrap and like twisted between each capsule so that they could just snip, unroll, and get the capsule out. And then number 3 was, we went in for our pediatric GI follow-up, and our pediatric GI had no clue. She was a very good doctor. And, you know, until we started talking autoimmune cholangiopathy or eosinophilic cholangiopathy, she was very confident. But once that was thrown into the mix, she was like a bull in the headlights. No, not a bull in the headlights, deer in the headlights. Like, she just didn't know what to do. And so basically we went in for our outpatient appointment for her to tell us, I need to talk to Dr. Nieto, the GI that did the procedure, and I'll call you. And so we left there after paying our really high deductible or copay or whatever it was, co-insurance, just for her to look like she didn't know what she was doing and tell us she was going to call another doctor. So a couple days later, I get a phone call from her nurse that says, okay, so Dr. Dorsey spoke with Dr. Nieto, and they want you to take, we're going to call in a prescription for a high dose of steroids. And I was like, okay, what, like high dose, like what are we talking here? She's like, he's going to be on 40 milligrams of prednisone for 3 weeks, and then 30 milligrams for 3 weeks, and then 20 milligrams for 3 weeks, and then 10 for 2, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy crap, that's a really high dose with a kid that's going through puberty. Are you kidding me? Like, roid rage, not to mention all of the long-term side effects that are indicated from prednisone. Like, steroids are not to be messed around with. And so I was like, I am going to need to speak to a doctor about this. Like, I am not going to be giving that to my kid until I talk to someone and get some more information. And so Dr. Nieto called, and he's like, all the labs came back and the pathology reports came back. They were normal, except he has high IgG4 levels, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to confess right now that I sat on those steroids for 2 weeks. We filled the prescription, and I did not give it to him because I was like, is this the path we take? And I mean, it got really bad when a few days later, Brooksy spikes a really high fever. I mean, it was really high. And I remember we were in the master bedroom, and Tom and Brooks are looking at me, and I can see it in their eyes. Like, they're packing their bags for the emergency room. And I'm like, this is not related to that. I just know it. And so I Googled when to hit the panic button over a fever. And thank goodness it gave me a really great link, and I read it, and I was able to calm them down, okay? But my family, for the most part, like, you know, anybody that doesn't live within our 4 walls, most of them were begging me to give him the steroids when he spiked that fever. And I was like, what are the steroids gonna do? Like, this is not related. I have palpated him up and down, pressed on every soft spot on his body. You know, I looked at his eyes, checked his pupils. I looked for other signs. It was a virus. And sure enough, like, and don't get me wrong, like, I checked on him every single hour that night, but he was fine. It ran its course, and that was it. And I was like, see, I told you we didn't need to give him the steroids. Well, I finally gave them to him. I talked to one of my mom's friends who was a nurse, and she's like, well, what about the inflammation and them taking the stent out? Like, you don't want him to, close back up or whatever. And so I finally did that. And then I finally decided that we were going to take him to a functional medicine doctor. And here is why our regular doctors, like our conventional Western medicine doctors, are not equipped to deal with this, okay? This is why they're not equipped. Thank you, Cindy. Number one, they practice medicine, all right? Do you go to the doctor when you're well? More than once a year? No, all right? Our healthcare system has evolved from like life-saving breakthroughs like surgeries, antibiotics, antifungals, to more often than not a pill for every ill. Number two, modern medicine is based on the assumption that the mind and the body are separate. They look at every system within the body as its own independently operating entity. And patients, they're not treated wholly, but they're more according to the symptoms that they're experiencing. Number three, almost all known diseases are explained in terms of pathogens that cause it, when we now know that all disease starts with inflammation. And I'm not talking about the inflammation that gets helped by taking an ibuprofen. I'm talking like an inflammatory cascade that goes on in your body. There's not a regular Western conventional medicine doctor out there that does anything about this. I mean, a lot of the stuff that causes inflammation is the food that we eat. And so then if you look up conventional medicine, it reads, they promote, restore, maintain health through science and technology. Hang on, where am I? Yeah. That's just crazy. So they don't put any stock in Mother Nature whatsoever. Okay? They are conditioned to fix with medicine. Look at the pediatric GI. When he didn't have acid reflux, but when we were discharged from the hospital, she sent him home with a prescription for a PPI because she either wanted or needed to give him something, like to have him leave with a prescription, a pill, even though none of his symptoms had anything to do with acid reflux. Their blinders are so fixed that they don't even believe in other stuff. We went in for a med check. Brooksy is ADD, like incredibly impulsive. And so he has the hyperactive part. And we went in for a med check, and the doctor that we saw, because the pediatric practice we go to has 3 peds in it, and so we like rotate through. You just never know who you're gonna get. And when the lady realized, oh my gosh, you're the jaundice boy, like she grabs him and hugs him, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're okay. And you know, what was the outcome? And I made the mistake of telling her, we are seeing a functional medicine doctor. And you could tell, I mean, she was like, maybe you should see if the Nemours clinic would present his case during grand rounds one day and have more physicians put their eyeballs on it. She did not, she totally thought I was absolutely crazy for, having him see a functional medicine doctor. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to say that again. I won't be making that mistake again. So they don't see the body that it can heal when you see, okay, back up. They don't see that the body can heal when you see that it is all interconnected and you treat it as such. So when you look at it as an entire system and you look at the lab work and you look at the symptoms and you look at what's going on and happening, and then you act accordingly. Like here's an example. Here's what happens to a patient that has irritable bowel syndrome, whether it's constipation or diarrhea. We know that a lot of IBS is more related to what's going on in here than the fact that they're pooping their brains out every time they get stressed out, all right? But they go to their primary care physician and they say, like, I don't know why it's happening, but every once in a while I can't leave the house because I've got such horrible diarrhea, and they'll tell them all the symptoms, and the doctor will be like, okay, I'm going to refer you to a gastroenterologist. Gastroenterologist sees them, does blood work, does maybe an upper and a lower or GI, like endoscopy and colonoscopy and whatever, and they do testing and everything comes back normal, and they're like, here's an antidepressant, it's all in your head. And that's not the only thing that's going on. So they end up going down this referral rabbit hole, and the right hand doesn't talk to the left, and yeah, it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, here's another reason why main medicine, regular modern medicine is not ever going to embrace this approach, and that is because of managed care. Our healthcare system has evolved into a broken system. It is no longer healthcare. It is sick care. That's what it is. Doctors don't have the time to help people heal on the inside. So if they want to integrate a modern medicine and a functional medicine approach, then it's going to have to be with a concierge service, cash paying service. That's why this was so expensive for us. Our functional medicine doctor is cash only. All the lab work, cash. We did not credit card cash, you know what I mean? Like not through managed care. It's all an uphill battle for a Western medicine doctor to try and practice health care and not sick care. They don't have the time. They are contracted with managed care organizations where they sign a piece of paper that says, yes, I understand that I have to see this many patients a day or this many patients a week from your organization in order for me to make the top tier amount of money. And if I take more time with my patients, therefore see less patients every day, I'm going to actually be docked and I'm going to receive less payment from your managed care organization for my services. They're incentivized to herd people through as quickly as they can. It also applies to pharmaceuticals, but that's a whole nother ball of wax. It is totally an uphill battle for them. They don't have the time. Patients don't want to change, okay? People don't change unless they have a hole that they need to climb out of, okay? Whether they are in so much pain from something or they want something so bad. Those are the two things that make people change. But if they don't have a problem that's big enough, then they're not going to change. And then part of the reason is because they think that there's a quick fix, and that's what they want. They want convenience, they want easy, they want a quick fix, they want a pill for an ill. And it's not until they have something serious happen to them, like what we had with Brooks, before they're ever going to say, okay, I'm crying uncle, we're gonna make a change. We are the sickest nation in the world. We have the most advanced healthcare system in the world, but we're the sickest nation in the world. So how is that a healthcare system? It's not. So back to what we did. We went to see Dr. Lexi. She was our functional medicine doctor. She did a functional medicine blood panel, as well as she told me, I want to send you for food sensitivity testing. There's only one lab that I use. Excuse me, I'm getting a reminder. Let me move that. There's only one lab I use because of how highly specific and whatever other word she used, but they use extremely tight controls on it. And she's like, because I want to know for sure, like if he shows up allergic to something, I want to know for sure, yes, he's allergic to it, not because there was cross-contamination or anything like that. That lab work right there was $600, just the lab work. But that came back and that guided her on, number one, what supplementation he needed. Number two, what diet changes did we need to make? Y'all, he was allergic to over 40 foods. 40. Not just his standard peanut allergy and shellfish allergy, but lettuce, tomato, all kinds of fruits, several vegetables, several grains. I mean, it was crazy. Why would somebody be allergic to over 40 foods? Because they have leaky gut. Yes, because they have leaky gut. I mean, I knew he had leaky gut, but I hadn't admitted that he had an autoimmune issue yet. I was still like, nope, we do not have an autoimmune disease. This is going to go away. Yes, I understand. So Cindy just commented that the insurance game is what held her back from functional medicine it's a stumbling block for a lot of people. But guess what? You either fix it now and put the money up front now, or you're going to pay the rest of your life. Truly, the rest of your life. The gateway to autoimmune disease is through leaky gut. All autoimmune diseases start with leaky gut. So if you have an autoimmune disease, And if you don't know, but you have an issue and the doctor just keeps giving you pills on top of it and it's not getting better, then you might want to look up what you have to see. Is it an autoimmune disease? Because a lot of people don't realize chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, those are 2 autoimmune diseases. Arthritis is an autoimmune disease. Psoriasis is an autoimmune disease. So you can take medications, but until you heal the body on the inside, you are just leaving Pandora's box open for more problems. Think about all the people and all the dang food allergies that we have. I know for sure that they didn't have peanut-free tables when I was in elementary school. They do now. And the reason is because people have leaky gut. When things get through the intestinal lining of your stomach and into your bloodstream, your body builds antibodies against them. And then you become sensitive to that food. So the next time you eat it, your immune system goes, and you have an allergic reaction. So we went on supplementation. We did a very, very strict diet for 21 days. She wanted 30. It was during the summer and it was in between camps. And so I was like, I can give you 21 days or we can wait until the end of the summer. She's like, I'll take 21. And then when he got back from camp, we went back to the stricter eating, not quite as strict though. So, I mean, my husband is a foodie. And he'll be like, well, it's only a little bit. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit or a lot of it. It's not good. And so I was sure that the last functional medicine panel that we did was going to be just wonky. But I was absolutely stunned. Everything was within normal limits. And she's like, he's healed. Yeah. From food and Mother Nature supplements. No drugs. Unbelievable. And what really propelled me to share this was Brooks's response. He was so moved. He was emotional and grateful and just, oh my gosh. And he said to me, he's like, I'm better because of the choices you made. He said, like I said before, he's 15. So, I mean, he's not the communicator that I am, but basically he's like, you fought for me. You made these choices for me. You stood up to family members that were like trying to have an intervention with you because they thought you were trying to kill your kid. Not really, I'm exaggerating. And we're better for it. And so it just fuels my passion that much more. People need to hear this message. It is time for a new era of wellness. It is time for them to meet in the middle. Yes, regular conventional Western medicine has its place and it is necessary and I don't put it down. But there's also a time and a place where you give the body credit for being the amazing machine that it is. There are people out there that take way better care of their cars than they do their bodies. How in the hell do you expect a living organism that's made up of millions of other organisms to act normal when you're just giving it a bunch of synthetic crap all the time? All right. Woo! Can you tell I get all hot and bothered talking about this? Like I'm literally sweating. But that is our story. That is how we healed from autoimmune. And I want to empower others to make better choices. I don't want to tell you what to do. You can vaccinate your kid or you don't have to vaccinate your kid. But do the research, read something and figure out like what is the best path for you. And that's why we're here, is so that I can empower you to do that. I want to be a resource and I want to build a community of people that are all, partial. I mean, I don't expect everybody to like be committed to this group, but I mean, I want us to all like be somewhat committed to helping each other find our way to wellness. I mean, I think about Cindy. She's on the call right now, and she, her husband, like he had his left cerebral artery was almost completely blocked. He almost totally stroked out. Like you get a block in that artery and you've got a massive infarct inside your brain that you're not ever recovering from. He is a walking miracle. It is by the grace of God that they got to the doctor and he had the mild symptoms that he was able to recover from. So I'm going to log off because I have another call and I have been rambling on and on. For those of you that catch this, let me know what you think. I know it was long, so I don't really expect that I'm probably going to get a lot of comments on it, but I had to tell this story and I am putting it on YouTube. Okay, y'all have a good one, TGIF, and that's all I have for now. Let me know if I left anything out or if you had any questions. Bye.